Joining me on the line, no idea where he is right now, but he is a hell of a human being, ladies and gentlemen. Chuck Zukowski from Alien Highway joining me on the line right now. What's going on, Chuck?
Not much. I'm sitting in my Ram 1500 Rebel talking to you. That way I can have a nice private conversation with you without being interrupted by people in the office.
You know what's funny? I think that every time we've talked, you've brought up that Ram.
Yeah. I guess I'm not sponsored. I just like to be specific.
Let me put it this way: we're not sponsored yet, Ram.
Yeah. Ram 50 Rebel.
That drives
I like
great
the
in the
Rebel.
desert when I'm hunting UFOs.
Yeah. Actually, this is a 19 Rebel now that I have. I traded in my 16 because I put so many miles on it shooting the show.
Yeah. So
And,
how real quick, how is the show going? Everything's still going cool with it?
We're going, pretty good so far. We've had some pretty solid ratings, and we've been mentioned a couple times in some high-profile websites. And I think Parade.com, like Parade Magazine, listed us as one of the shows to watch this week, which was really an honor. It's kind of cool for somebody like that to do that. So,
Just once I want to be a show to watch. Just once.
Why, do you have a face for radio?
Chuck Zukowski, everybody. Comedian. Oh, Chuck. Hey, listen, I'm glad everything with the show's going well. I'm hoping all the investigation stuff is going well. But the reason I'm having you on today, there's been this thing, it became a big social media thing about 2 weeks ago. It's kind of tapered off, but it's still floating out there as some people are actually thinking this might be a great idea, but it's to storm Area 51 on September 20th. How bad of an idea is this?
Okay, it's a very bad idea. I can tell you firsthand because I've investigated Area 51 on and off for the past 25 years. Matter of fact, I hired a guide right after Freedom Ridge was taken. It was land grabbed by Nellis, and so I hired a guide, and I was one of the. I think the guide said I was probably the second or third person to help cut a trail up Tickaboo Peak, so you could see Area 51 off at a distance. So I've done a lot of research, a lot of investigations on it, and I've actually talked to a couple of people that that worked on the base, and then also some security guys. And I can tell you this from the very beginning, Federal Law Section 1382 of Title 18 basically tells you it is a federal law. It's illegal to intrude or to trespass onto a federal base.
Yeah.
So off, you're breaking a federal law.
And you're not just doing it on just some base that's been there, that's been acknowledged for years upon years, like your local National Guard base or something. This is one that the CIA just acknowledged, back in 2013?
Exactly. And really, Area 51 sits on Nellis Air Force Base. So it's an actual military facility. And if I guarantee you, my investigations in the past, I've found listening devices and also like ground, not really a listening device, but they can sense when vehicles, go over roads and stuff, and so they know you're coming way ahead of time, and security will be waiting for you, near the gate. They'll stay on their side unless they need to. Where I've talked to them is them leaving the base, and they're on public road, and I'm on a public road, so I stop them and we just kind of BS for a little bit. And what I've learned from these guys is they're a private security, sort of like Blackwater.
Okay.
And so they follow their own procedures and policies based on their company, not based on Nellis, okay, or not based on our Air Force. So they could probably get away with things that our military couldn't do addressing the public. Just kind of figure you're coming across a Blackwater Ops, which is a private security service. And I think Nellis does that just to be able to separate themselves from any issues that may come up with security, manhandling, or maybe being too rough on people trying to, trespass on a military base. And for God's sakes, if anybody tries to trespass on any military base carrying a gun, well, that's 100x worse, because it's also against it's federal law to bring a firearm onto a base without, proper procedures and permission and everything else like that too. And you don't want to do it.
All right, Chuck Zukowski joining me. He's from Alien Highway on Travel Channel. We'll have all the information at the bottom of the page. Let's break this down a couple ways. Because if, let's say that I, by myself, went out to around Area 51, and I don't think what people don't really get about it is that, like, the fence line is one thing, like, the actual buildings are a lot further away, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Once you get to the fence line, and they'll be waiting for you there, you've got pretty long distance, almost a 3/4 of a mile in some cases, to get to the main buildings. And really, the main buildings, there's nothing there. If you're looking for aliens, it wouldn't be at the main buildings because they have skunk work facilities within the complex that's even past that, further past that.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you've done a lot of research and you know where you're going, you're just going to be walking onto a military base not knowing where to go. You're going to head to the main buildings, which is, basically their aircraft hangars and stuff. But all the real stuff is all the cool stuff, even based on Bob Lazar's testimony, is further past the main buildings in these separate bunkers that are skunk work facilities. And they'll just shoot you to get into there. But basically, and this, I've talked to people who've actually been arrested that gone onto the base. What they will do is as soon as you cross the border, now you're on a military base, illegally, they'll apprehend you. They'll take any type of media that you have on your person, being a camera, cell phone, anything.
Okay.
And they'll hold you, they'll detain you for the sheriff's department, or depending on what you've done, they can detain you on the base. You may or may not see your media come back. I can guarantee that your cell phones will be wiped when they give it back to you. And any media that you had, SD cards or anything in a camera, will be confiscated. So you may or may not get your cameras back. If you get your cell phone back, it'll be wiped. And and you're going to have a hefty fine on top of that, too.
All right, so that answers the first question, like if I show up and do this. Let's say for the sake of argument, I know in this Facebook group, it's, over a million people say they're going, but let's face it, you're never going to get a million people out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a good number of people do show up on September 20th. All right, maybe a couple thousand or something, and they decide at a appointed time that, hey, we're going to run onto the base. What's going to happen in your estimation?
First, logistic wise, there's like only one cafe out there, the little Alien Inn.
Yeah,
like a bathroom. So they won't have enough food for 1,000 people, let alone a bathroom or facilities there because they're just not set up for a couple thousand people. Now let's look at it this way: if they are harboring alien technology there, and they have the means of being able to stop 1 million people with technology that we don't know about, but there's always, it's a government facility, and some of the things that I've read about, not only at that base but other bases too, is the type of technology they have to be able to stop people if it's the low note, transmitting this very low frequency.
Yeah, the brown noise stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you're just going to, it'll basically just stop you. But a couple of rounds from MR or some type of a gun, shooting in front of you, that might stop you too. And I know that people say they can't shoot all of us. Well, no one wants to get shot anyway. Nobody wants to be the front person.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's what I was thinking. It's like, who wants to be the first guy that's shot? Because as soon as I see some dude get his head blown off, this becomes a really bad idea, and I'm done.
Yeah, and I'm guessing what they would probably do, being in law enforcement and being trained in riot gear for riots, what they would do most likely is they would hit you with rubber bullets.
Okay.
And if you've ever played paintball, that's a 68 caliber paintball. When that hits you at 200 feet per second, it leaves a really cool, welt on you, and it hurts. Well, picture something going twice as fast and hard, and that doesn't break open like a paintball. And I've read some reports where some of those rubber pellets will actually crack ribs, depending on the distance where you are. So that's number one. You don't even want to mess with that. And then, that's if they decide to do that. And they might have other means too, being a military base, a secret military base, means that I don't know of, where they could stop people using technology, like the brown note, like you said.
Yeah.
But, we were aware of that. The other thing too is there's 9,000 people on Nellis base. So whatever they have for security at Area 51, they can prepare by grabbing security SPs from Nellis too. So it's just not the security there at Area 51. My gosh, they already know you're coming.
Yeah,
okay? You're giving them a date.
You got not only a date, but a time and who is going.
Exactly, and so they're going to be prepared for you. From what I understand, from what I've investigated, they have a live satellite that overlooks Area 51 for other reasons too. So they'll be able to see way ahead of time cars coming in, people coming in, and they have plenty of time to prepare for it. And I guarantee that there's going to be some people out there. Most likely there'll be looky-loos, seeing who's going to run. But I mean, how close do you want to actually get to the gate? Now, I was shooting a show for Science Channel a few years ago, Unexplained Files Season 2, and we rolled up on the west gate of Area 51. We came pretty close, and we knew that they were watching us. The film crew kind of stopped and said, "Hey, look, this is Raw TV out of England at the time, and they've heard the stories. They go, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment here that can get confiscated within like 5 minutes, and we may or may not ever see it again."
Yeah.
So they held back. I got closer to the gate, and then I stopped and talked to people coming out, but I would never step over that proverbial line.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's going to. It depends on what you do. It could be a misdemeanor or it could be a felon. But it's a federal law, so I'm guessing once you step over, you become a felon. When you get arrested. Now remember, once you're a felon, you can't carry a gun anymore.
Yeah.
If you're an avid gun owner and you like to carry concealed or you like to carry open carry, that's it. You're done. There's a lot of things, civil rights that are taken away from you once you become a felon. Is it really worth it?
Yeah, this is just...
and you're not going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah, this is just a bad idea all the way around. Just kind of the conspiracy side of things, Chuck Zukowski from Alien Highway on Travel Channel. The kid that made this, he made a statement like last week where he came out and said, this is just a joke. This is a bad idea. Don't take it seriously. Do you think anybody went to him and was like, hey, you need to make this video?
I think once he realized how it took off,
once the wildfire hit.
Right. And then once you start thinking about, I could be responsible. Now, in my opinion, I think he backstepped to avoid liabilities of starting a coup like this. I don't think I think someone talked to him and said, maybe an attorney going, you know what, you could be liable for this.
What?
You really could. I mean, there's like, if people get hurt, I could get sued. Now, for your listeners out there, you can file a civil lawsuit against anybody here in the U.S., and you can file a frivolous civil lawsuit against anybody here in the U.S. It may or may not go to court if it's frivolous, but if you've got like 500,000 people that got hurt storming Area 51 because of you, I guarantee that some of those lawsuits are going to stick.
Oh, Chuck Zukowski, always a bag of fun here. The show is Alien Highway. Real quick, before I let you go, Chuck, do you think there's still actually stuff at Area 51, or is that just kind of the smokescreen and everything? All the cool stuff is somewhere else?
At one point, there was a rumor that a lot of the stuff was moved out of Area 51 to Pine Gap, Australia, and also moved to Schriever Air Force Base here in Colorado Springs. I think particularly that was just a statement or some information that was leaked out to try and keep the pressure off of 51, because I've been kind of following it for the past few years, and people are still seeing some really cool things there. I believe, we have reverse alien technology there. So, and then people are seeing balls of light there and other things too. So, craft. So it's really interesting what's going on there. If you want to do this right, and you can hike Tickaboo Peak. That's still on BLM land. But I've also talked to somebody who took a really expensive camera gear up there on top of Tickaboo Peak so they could zoom in and really get some good pictures. By the time they came off of Tickaboo Peak, there was a Chinook helicopter sitting there with security, and they confiscated their equipment. Now, they got their equipment back. They were a television company out of Europe. So they got their equipment back, but all their media was confiscated. So even though you're on public land, you're still spying on a military base.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people are understanding. This is legitimately an American military installation. You can't just storm it. You can't spy on it without there being some sort of consequences.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you. I mean, when I hiked up Kickapoo Peak, I was actually shadowed, and I knew I was shadowed by someone from Nellis. And then after the day was over, we were back at Rachel. I followed him back to his trailer and confronted him. I knocked on the door of his trailer and I said, "Cap, ground security." And when he opened the trailer, there was nothing in the trailer but a duffel bag. And I talked to this guy and I said, "So I'm no threat, am I?" He goes, "Nah, you're just some UFO nut. You're no threat." I said, "But you got to do I said, "Oh, you got to do a file on me?" He goes, "Of course I've got to do a file on you." I'm going, "Oh, great." So, somewhere either CIA or FBI have got a file on me for the time that I was on top of Kickapoo Peak taking pictures of the base. And the camera at the time, I only had a 200 millimeter zoom lens on it. So, I couldn't really get too close.
Yeah.
But I did tell you, I can tell you this. When I was on top of Kickapoo, I got to see a shift change, the security shift change. And there were vehicles, SUVs. At the time, they were using Ford Explorers. I don't know what they're using now. They just magically appeared out of nowhere. So they have these kind of really cool bunkers there that are camouflaged, and just stuff was coming out of nowhere. And there was a shift change, and that was even more cool for me to see that going, oh my gosh. And this was in between where the fence line is, and I couldn't see any further back to where the base was because it's a few miles back. So they were pretty close to the fence line doing this shift change.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's the immediate thought I had when I first saw this story was this could be the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, my immediate idea was, where are you going to go to the bathroom? There's only a couple of bathrooms there, and there's no place to eat, really. Little Alien Inn, they can't handle all that. So people are going to be showing up on all their cars. There's not a lot of parking there. It's going to be just mass confusion and chaos. There's no one going to be there that's going to control the whole thing.
Yeah.
Someone's going to take charge with a bullhorn or something, and most likely that's the person you don't want to follow.
Yeah.
Because what they'll do is they'll get you, Storm, while they kick back and watch to see what happens, because that's the type of people they are.
Chuck Zukowski from Alien Highway on Travel Channel. What's the name of your website again?
UFOnut.com.
Chuck, final question for you. Do you think anybody's going to show up on September 20th?
I think they will. I think there'll be a few people that'll show up just for the heck of it. Maybe they might be in the Nevada area and decide, hey, let's just go see what happens and let's see who's going to do this. And I think the people who do show up are just going to be the looky-loos to see what's going to happen. I'm hoping that we don't have, people showing up thinking they're actually going to storm it. And really, how are you going to storm it without you don't even know where to go, for God's sake? You really got to research even where to go. You're just going to be running through the desert. For all you know, you may be just running right past it.
I want to see people actually try to run and then scale a fence. Because the majority of the people that say, yeah, they're going to do this, I don't think they can.
The fence is barbed wired. At least the fence that I saw is barbed wired. And every so many feet or yards, really, there's a security camera. When I was investigating way back in the day, I actually found road sensors that know you're coming. And This is on BLM. This is on public land, so they know you're coming. And then when you get closer, even when I got close to the West Gate, there's just, a dozen cameras there in all different directions. And I was looking down the fence line. There were cameras too. And I tell you what, the fence could be electrified too. I never got close enough to touch it. I didn't want to. So, you could be scaling a fence and get knocked on your butt too. So, you may never even get a chance to get on there. It'll be like Jurassic Park, right?
Listen, I am absolutely saying that this is a bad idea, that I don't think anybody should go and do this. There is a certain part of me that wants to see people try and do this, though.
Well, we'll see it on YouTube, I'm sure. But, if you go there as a spectator and the military comes in, they may just think that you're part of it.
Yeah.
And you may be taken unwillingly, even though you're a spectator too. And, that happens in riots all the time. especially the LA riots back years ago, where people showed up just to see everybody else riot, and then they got arrested too because automatically law enforcement thought they were part of it. So you got to be careful as a spectator. You might be considered involved.
Screw that. Chuck Zukowski from Alien Highway on Travel Channel. Thank you so much. You can find him, his website, ufonut.com. We'll have all the links at the bottom of the page. Chuck, thanks so much for taking a couple minutes today. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, and thank you very much. And we have a new episode coming up tonight, so hopefully you can watch it.
Perfect. Travel Channel. Go check it out.
All right. Thank you.